today we're going to go over the proper way to groom a horse for basically horses that you have at home. I really don't have that much experience with show grooming and mane pulling. I do know how to get a white horse spotless for performance purposes, but as far as the actual trimming and clipping and getting all this fuzz out of their ears, we don't do any of that here. At Herman's Slip-Ons, we leave them as natural as they can possibly be. So we're not going to go over any clipping or trimming. We're just going to go over basic grooming techniques for you and your horse today. So, and also one thing that a lot of people don't understand, or they don't realize, I think just because we do it every day, so it's not something that occurs to us. Grooming is a fantastic way to bond with your horse. It's just a wonderful one-on-one time for you with them. It's usually a quiet time. You're stimulating their blood circulation. You're getting off all that itchy hair. You're doing a lot of good things for them, and they just enjoy having you with them. So a lot of people think that if you want to bond with your horse, you have to take them out in a pasture and you have to give them a lot of carrots, and you've got to be in their territory with them and allow them to come and go as they please. That's not really the case. We have found, my horses in particular, if someone else grooms them for me because I can't get to them for whatever reason, they give me a really rough ride and they're not very nice to me at all in the arena. Whereas if I go in and groom them and spend time with them, they're a lot happier the whole day through. So it does make a big difference. It is that one-on-one time. It is that stimulation that they're getting. And if you watch horses in the wild, they do engage in a fair amount of social grooming. So you're also getting on an instinctual level with them, because certain horses will groom certain horses. They'll pair up, and it's typically the same horses all the time. So it's a bonding experience that they've learned since they were babies, that this is what you do with members of the herd that you're going to be close to. So you're getting to them on a natural level that they understand quite readily. Now, a few things that you're going to want in your grooming box. This is just a typical grooming kit. You can get bags, you can put them in buckets. You can buy these in several different forms, and they're going to come with everything you could possibly hope to want to clean a horse. But the stuff that I like in mine is, I like a nice stiff brush, which you can, I don't know if you can hear it, that's nice stiff bristles. You want a curry, because this is what stimulates the circulation the best and also gets the hair off the easiest. You want a softer brush for their face. You don't ever want to use a stiff brush on their face. You can use a little harder than, like toothbrush bristles, I guess, but you want to remember that that whole area around their face is very sensitive, particularly around their eyes, down in here, and it's just going to be extremely irritating. You can use a curry on their face. I've had to with my stallions because they're white, and I will when she sheds all this out and turns white. But for the most part, you don't ever really need to use it that much, except maybe when they're shedding out, and they really like it if they're itchy to get all that just old dead hair off. These kits typically will come with a comb. You can use this for manes, especially after they've had a bath and you use a detangler and you get all the little mats out. And if it's a horse that's stabled on a regular basis, these work really well. These girls go out every day for the majority of the day, and their manes get considerably tangled. So I usually buy just a cheaper brush. Any kind will work, but it's something that has a lot of bristles, like what you would use in your own hair if you have longer hair. And it's a lot easier on them, it's a lot easier on you, and these little ones, unfortunately, they're really good combs, but they do have a tendency to break. So, and if you're going to work on their tail, you definitely want something with some serious bristles, because you'll be combing that for hours. girl. So usually I like to start with, you've got your stiff brush in one hand and your curry in the other, and you want to kind of go over and get all of the bigger parts off. Just kind of get the dust and the hair that's, you can see just from all this that's shedding out here, that she has got some serious winter coat coming off, finally. And you want to clean your brush often. A lot of people, if you do this in the barn aisle or you're doing it in the wash stand, you want to make sure you clean all that hair up, sweep it up and put it in a bag or get rid of it, just out of a common courtesy. Now, I switch my hands around a lot. So I take my curry in my right hand, come over here, and you want to work in a nice circular motion. You can see all that hair is coming off immediately with that. And a nice up and down to get all that done. She's pretty sweaty because they were running yesterday. So you're going to feel that when you start. Don't wear clothes that you're particularly attached to because they're going to get completely covered. And you want to just stimulate. You can see, I don't know if you can see her lip moving. But horses will, when you hit the right spot, they will start looking for something to scratch because you are stimulating them to scratch another horse. So if someone is standing in front of her and they put their hand or their body in front of her and she's used to them being there, I don't think you can see it on the screen, she'll actually start nuzzling them with her upper lip. Now the only thing you want to be careful with that is they have a tendency to nip, and they can nip hard when they're doing social grooming, which is fine on a horse, but not so fine on a person. So you want to just really go back and forth. Whew. You can see she's got a ton of hair coming off of her. You want to do either back and forth or that circular motion, and that's going to stimulate not only for their hair to come out, but it's also stimulating all of her circulation in this area. And it's really warming her up good. And then you just take your stiff brush back over and get all that hair off of her. So get them nice and smooth. They really enjoy this. I mean, it's not the same as bath time. They're not as crazy about that. But most horses, unless they're particularly ticklish, do enjoy having a good grooming done. And with her, obviously we don't do it every day, but during show season, they do get groomed between 4 and 5 times a week, and they won't have near as much hair coming off of them then. And then, I don't know if you can see, she's already starting to get a little bit of a shine. The more actual physical grooming you do as opposed to washing, you'll get that real nice sheen on them because you're constantly getting new hair growth and stimulating all those hair follicles. So, oh, sorry, got hair all over my face now. So just, even grooming alone, and you should work up a sweat. If you're grooming correctly, when you come out, you should be either covered in hair, as I'm probably going to be, after getting most of this coat off, or you should have worked up a sweat. I mean, you can see my arm's moving pretty good. If she had stains on her that you could actually see, you would just see constant. Every time you go over, you'd see that stain getting lighter and lighter, but you really have to scrub to get her clean. Now, it's going to be impossible to get all of this winter hair off her. Yeah, see, that would be a cow kick. I don't know if you guys just saw it, but that's what those look like. She's not real crazy about this noise. You can see on her face, she doesn't know what that is. Ears are back and doesn't like it. And this is also, you know, a young horse. Good girl. See, it's not going to scare you. Young horses, everything's new. They really are like babies. They are like children. Everything's new to them. And so they're curious, but it's also something as a prey animal that they have to be wary of. So it's good to keep that in the back of your mind, especially when you're grooming a new horse. Because with babies, everything's new. So they don't know if they should be afraid of it at all. Unfortunately, it is sad, but it is something that has to be said. Come on, all the way. Come on, you did me all the way. That's a girl. Keep going. Something also that has to be said is horses that you get from auctions, horses that you get from sanctuaries or abuse situations, you really have to treat them with a special kind of caution and understanding and patience, because you don't know what that horse has been through. They didn't end up at animal control or the ASPCA or the Humane Society because somebody loved them. They ended up there because somebody abused them and forgot about them. So those horses, it sounds strange that you would think that a horse would be afraid of something like this, but we have had horses come through here that the whole idea of being groomed was enough to send them over the edge. They didn't like the grooming box. They didn't like anything to do with being brushed, being cleaned, being touched. And you know, the other thing you have to figure out with especially horses that you don't have a good history on, they can be sore, they can be sensitive in certain areas, they can be ticklish. You're not going to know any of that until you actually get in there. So again, even though you're doing something so very basic as just brushing off hair, you need to be aware that you need to keep your body away from them so that if they start moving around, you can get out of their way. You want to make sure, especially when you're in this area again, that you're away enough so that if they do throw a foot, you're not in the line of fire. And you also kind of want to gradually put pressure down on them, because you never know if you're hitting a sore spot, if you're hitting, I mean, even a young horse like this that's been out in the pasture, she's been out with other horses, they've been roughhousing. They could have kicked each other, they could have stepped on each other, they could have bitten each other. You don't know any of that. So you could be coming across here, or they, in one such case, we had a horse that got stung by a wasp, had a swelling, girl didn't know it, went across it, almost got kicked. You don't know. So you want to also take a nice visual of your horse when you're grooming it, because that's going to help you out in case you go over a soft spot that they're not particularly happy with you. Right? And we're going to have a whole other horse by the time we're done washing you. And again, this is just a wonderful bonding experience for you and your horse. They enjoy it. You're going to be burning some serious calories when you're trying to clean them off. Good girl. Good girl. Also, whenever you're going back and forth into your grooming box, I've got it over here on the side, you want to make sure that this end is pointed the other way. Anytime, and this goes for anything, anytime that you are doing anything around horse, never, never, never put your head down behind their back end. Just, it's asking, it's giving way too much credit that that horse is going to behave itself. It's a dangerous area. They could kick you, and 9 times out of 10, most kicks, they're not even warranted. It's not, the horse isn't trying to kick you. They just see that, I know, you don't, she has sensitive ears. That's what you're seeing here. She doesn't like anything up on her head because she gets summer itch. So anything up in here, she doesn't like people messing with. I know, your ears. I know. I'm not going to go near your ears. That's a girl. Good girl. Unfortunately, in Florida, a lot of horses get summer itch. They also call it rain rot. And it's just, it's something. Come here, Poe. I know, I'm not going to touch your ears. I know, I'm not going to touch your ears. But I know. Good girl. Good girl. I know. I'm not going to touch your ears. There you go. And you can also see just from my hand being off her face, the amount of hair that is coming down. Now, one thing you can also do with a horse that's giving you a real hard time, she's doing this because, again, she doesn't like anybody messing with her ears. You can put your hand here and put a little bit of pressure. That typically will bring their face down. You don't want to cut off their windpipe because that's going to make them panic. But a lot of times they will bring their head down. I don't know if she's not going to be crazy about this up by her ears. Okay. Or, there's always bribery, which in all reality, if it gets the job done, I'm not one to be worried about if I have to constantly have something in my pocket. Good girl. Come here. I know, but you can't have this until you come over here. That's a good girl. Good girl. Come here. No. Come here. See, I'm not hurting your ears. I know. I know. It's just, it's the ears. I know. Come here. I know. It's just, it's unhappy. I know. It's total unhappiness, and you don't like that noise up by your ears either. And this is also a good indication. She's not upset. She's not getting hurt. It's not a fear response. She's gone from, she doesn't want me messing with her ears, to now she doesn't want her head brushed. And this is something that you will have to learn how to read your horse as to whether or not they're actually afraid of you, or, in her case, she's just being a typical toddler and just doesn't want this done. Stop. And it varies from horse to horse, and as an owner, you have to figure out how they are responding, whether they're afraid, which she's not. She's just being irritable, like any child who's had enough and has no more patience, and whether or not it's something that's a legit fear. It's very hard, and I've known people who've had horses for years and cannot look even at their own horse and see if they're afraid or if they're just being, yes, if you're just being a brat, which is what you're doing still. That's a girl. Good girl. That's a good girl. See, we got it done. A lot of what horses do is body language. A lot of what they do, they can't talk, obviously. A lot of people will look at their ears. I know. Now stop. And, you know, they'll tell you, well, their ears are doing this, or their mouth is doing this, their tail's doing this. In my experience, I've learned I don't look at their ears, I don't look at their mouth, I don't look at their tail. I look at the horse as a whole, unique being. Their entire body language. Their body language shows you everything. You can look at a horse just from this point on, and you don't even have to look at their face, and you can see if they're tense and what they're getting ready to do. If they're completely balled up and in on themselves, obviously a foot is coming at some point. However, if they're relaxed like she is right now, you can see her whole body's relaxed. She's not jumping around, she's not moving, she's not fidgeting. She's in a good spot right now. Also with the tail, you don't want to do what I just did. You want to stay off to the side so that if she kicks, you're not getting a direct shot, you're getting more of a glancing blow. So, and her tail's really not in that bad a shape as far as tangles go. But I will turn her around for a second so that you can get another good look, because I'm sure plenty of people saw her when she was standing with her butt completely to the camera, and they want to know what this is. A lot of horses get this down here in Florida. I don't know about other, come here. I don't know about other states. I would guess that a lot of the southern and tropical states, they have this problem. Come on. Raven, move. What they get what we call summer itch. It is a fungal issue. You can see how her hair is not, it's all scratched off in here, and it's real flaky, it's extremely dry. This is from her scratching on fence board, stall board, anywhere where she can get her butt up against anything and rub. The only way around this that we have found is you have to use an antifungal shampoo on it, and the more you groom it, the better it is, because you're stimulating all these hair follicles in here. And it will grow out. You have to keep using the antifungal though to keep the itch down, because if not, they're just going to keep scratching and scratching and scratching. So no matter how much it grows, it's still going to look like this. She's going to have this punk rock, Punky Brewster thing going on. And that's also the same thing here. That's why she doesn't have nice long hair here. It's long here and here, but it's got this. This is from putting her head through the fence and scratching. So if your horse has been out for a while and you have board fencing and you notice that they have hair, and they're bald right here, that's what's happening. They're sticking their head through the fence and they're scratching. And it'll just evolve into a bald spot right here because it's constant. So again, antifungal shampoo, lots of brushing, and eventually this hair will come. It's never going to be as nice as the rest of their mane, because where they itch always seems to be where they itch, but it's going to be at least a little bit better. So the last thing that I always end with is the cleaning of the feet. So, but you can't really see it from here, so we're going to take a moment so that I can bring the camera up here so that you can see how to clean out their foot up and close. And hopefully we won't bust the camera while we're doing that. All right, so now we've gotten to doing the feet. And feet I usually leave till, I either do the first thing or the last thing, but in her case I left it for the last thing because she's probably going to squiggle. So the first thing you're going to want to do is, again, get her foot up. That's the first challenge. And then you can see how dirty her foot is. You want to take the pointy end. Now you want to be careful here. You don't want to just go digging around, because it's going to be sensitive up in there, especially if they've got any kind of an issue. And what you want to do is just clean all of this out. I'm going to get it all nice and clean in here so we can show you what the foot actually looks like. You want to get it all nice and clean like that, and then brush it out. Oh. Alright, now I'm not a farrier, so I only know very rudimentary anatomy of a horse's foot, so any farriers watching this, please bear with me. This is the frog, this is the heel bulb. I don't know what the grooves are called, but I know that this is the most important part of keeping clean in the foot. This is the sole, and then this is the actual hoof. So, good girl. So what you want to do is you always want to make sure these are nice and clean, because horses get a bacterial infection called thrush. It's the most common infection that they get. It's this white, smelly, sticky substance that gets in here because of the manure, and it's moist, and it's wet, and it's dark. It will wreak havoc on their frogs. There's plenty of treatments to get rid of it, but it's a long process, and it's just, very inconvenient, and it's painful for the horse because it will eat this away eventually. If you ever have a horse that's showing a lot of favoring, and you've checked their legs and you can't feel heat anywhere, a good thing is to pick up their foot, first see if they've got any foreign objects in here like rocks or sticks or anything wedged in there. Then you want to take the butt of your hoof pick, if she'll hold still, and you just want to tap the bottom of the foot. Now if she has developed an abscess from a rock or a root or anything else hard that she hit, it'll be up here underneath the sole. And if you put your fingers there where she was sensitive, you can sometimes feel the depression. The best thing to do at that point is to call your farrier. They will come, they will cut that out, they will drain it so that it can heal. You do not want to try to go digging around in there, because a horse's foot is like our fingernails. They've got a quick that goes around here, and the actual bed under here will bleed. So if you cut them too deep,
you're going to have a serious mess on your hands. Also, if you try to be a home farrier and trim this without knowing where that quick is, you can cut it too short and lame your horse up for several days, if not weeks. And if you cut them too close, you might even get a foundering situation. So, other than just cleaning it up for maintenance purposes, my recommendation is to always have a farrier do their feet, because they are the professionals and that's what they do for a living. So they're going to see things in there that you have no idea what's wrong, and they can just look at it and fix it. So that's just basic hoof care and maintenance to keep your horse from getting thrush or any serious bruising from foreign objects or anything like that. All right, so I hope you learned a little bit about just basic grooming techniques and, a little bit about the foot. Like I said, I'm not a farrier, so I tried to describe things as best as I could without a diagram in front of me to show me what anything is. I'm sure all the farriers out there watching this are just shaking their head going, no, that's not what that's called. But I guess it's good enough because you're telling them not to quick your horse. And I hope you learned a little bit about how well horses bond when you're in here brushing them, a lot about social interaction and how they would react in a herd environment. And also, I meant to say two things. First of all, the brushes that you use on mares, it's okay if you want to take those to a gelding. However, on this farm, we have 18 stallions. So that brush box that I use in here with these ladies never goes into the barn with the boys, because they would completely lose their minds if I went into a stall with a bunch of brushes that smelled like girl. So that's kind of an aside note for anyone who has stallions in the same barn. And also, I did mean to say this when I was talking about social grooming. When horses groom each other, if you watch them, they take their noses and they move in kind of this sort of roundish, I hope you can see that kind of roundish movement when they're biting. And you can see I'm lightly pinching her skin when I do it. And that's what we're trying to mimic a little bit when we use the curry to smooth that out, is also that same movement. And typically younger horses like to be brushed because that is something that they're used to their mother doing to them when they're being groomed just out in the pasture. So all of these things are natural for them, and it is an extremely good bonding procedure that you can do with them. And you get a little shoulder workout while you're doing it as well. So I hope it was informative, and I hope to see you again next time. Right? Yeah, right.